This is 90 Seconds to Orgasm. I'm Ron Hosen, and this is part
three.
Part three. You sure it's part three? Okay. Part three, and it's morphing into a construct called psychological capital. I want to emphasize the natural things that people do, that they're attracted to, that they show early skill in, and they take opportunities to learn how to do it in different ways. And in my case, it was turning everything into numbers. My wife, who was 20 years younger than I, was born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas, and she and her family would go out to a fried chicken restaurant. I think it was probably an informal fried chicken restaurant. And so people sat at tables, whether they picked it up, when it was cooked or whether it was brought, I don't know. But what was told by my wife and by her mother and brothers, she would have been 4 years old, and she would wander around the restaurant and go up to people and break into song. The song she broke into would begin with, "Let me entertain you," which apparently has a tune. And then she would proceed to sing. But apparently she had a really good voice. When she was a teenager, she was offered a full scholarship to, where would she have been offered a full scholarship to? In the thing in New York?
Columbia? NYU?
No, the performing arts.
Oh, Juilliard?
Juilliard. So at age 4, she had a strong and melodic voice, and she would go around to these strangers and sing for them, and they would give her chicken. And then she would take it back to the table, embarrass the hell out of her family. So she was always able to perform in front of groups. So she would perform, I think she performed in a little theater version of Annie, Fiddler on the Roof. She had a lot of credits, even when she was a little girl. And she had a very good voice and a strong voice, but the main thing was she was fearless. And she would meet people all over, and it didn't matter whether she was going to see them again. Apparently, she liked to talk to people, and she would even occasionally listen, because that was the price of getting to talk. Yeah. So that's something she was inclined to do. She was skilled enough to pick the right people, and capable of conducting a superficial conversation. She didn't have a lot of friends, which I did. But acquaintances and neighbors are different from friends. So, psychological capital is something where people can take a predisposition and apply it in the world. Go into the world, go into the environment, with a purpose and do something. And in doing so, if they have a reasonably natural skill, they can improve on it. And they can learn something about an audience, how people work, what you watch for if you want to interact with people, have them like you. There's a concept in psychology, it used to be called extroversion. And this is supposedly people who go to a party and go around and meet people. But it turns out what it really is, apparently, is a kind of wish to dominate, and to do this in a pleasant social context. And they're good at inducing people to like them, and they're energetic and are willing to take risks that people won't like them. But this is not friendliness, which is another trait. Friendliness is really more deeply liking people and liking to be liked and liking to interact with people in a way that's pleasant. These are people who do things for other people. It also may be that many of these people, and I'm one of those, I score very high on friendliness, I want people to like me. It's important. And I'll do things, don't feel any sacrifice, because I want them to like me. Now, I've been suckered by a lot of chronic liars, mostly women I got romantically involved in. So what I see in hindsight is that I wanted to believe them. I wanted to believe their lies. And they were lying because it was fun, or because they'd get something out of it. And what they were doing on their side was providing a lot of sex and a lot of affection. So if they weren't enjoying it, they had to hide that. So it's very, very simple to lie. If you're good, if you're clever, what you have to do is you have to induce people to want to believe you. Madoff is an icon of the financial sector of the economy. Wall Street ought to have a statue of him. He's the perfect American financial person. He got people to want to give him money and would turn it down sometimes. And he was a fraud, as they are frauds. He was lying, as they lie. The lies are just slightly different. And he was more successful. So, we have a situation where some people are oriented toward not being deceitful, being relatively honest, straightforward, not sternly honest, saying things that would hurt other people that are unnecessary, but just basically they don't think about, how can I con this person? How can I make them think that I'm more important than I feel I am? How can I make them think that I can do something for them more than I believe I can? And so, if you have a reputation for honesty, And if you combine this with friendliness, this has some value. But it doesn't get you anywhere if you're competing with people who are deceitful. So I think if you think of the world, especially kids, as people setting out with a purpose, people who have a project they want to apply their abilities to, somewhere they want to go, somewhere they want to be in the future, something they want to achieve that's meaningful to them. I think you can draw on what other people know that you don't. And this is called pulling things out of what's available. So if a school provided an opportunity for people to pursue projects, to go for things for which they're motivated, and then let them pull from the curriculum, from the teachers, and from the other students what they need as they pursue this, I think you'd get double the amount of studying activity, double the amount of attention, and you'd get people learning a lot of facts, because you need a ton of facts picked up in the context of real life before you learn principles that you can apply generally. And get the learning transfer that makes this of value. So, in the case of somebody who has drawing ability, that means they can see shapes and angles and things like that. And if they pursue something related to something artistic initially and begin to pull out of the curriculum and from other people, both artistic and non-artistic, they may be able to use this to learn something about mathematics, science. I mean, after all, if you can deal with shapes, you have a better chance than I do of learning what a vacuum is, and the movements, and learning what a battery is. Now, one very important construct that can come out of a number of these elements of psychological capital is to understand the world as involved in energy transformation. A battery converts chemical energy to electrical energy. Okay, so Dennis says close enough. And if you think of an automobile, or you think of anything that is propelled, a human, anything that has motion and has direction, is converting energy, using energy, recycling energy in some natural way, which is part of life. And this is psychological capital. When you grasp this, it can be transferred. End of 3. So that's it, right?
Do you want to do part 4?
Is there room?